And welcome back to the show. Our next guest has visited over 1,000 gardens from around the world. Joining us now is Linda Larson, a traveling gardener, and Geneva Benson from the Garden Club. Ladies, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Nice to have you. Linda, that is a remarkable accomplishment. Tell us about visiting 1,000 gardens, and I believe you've been to all 50 states as well as 49 countries.
Yes, that's true.
Wow, that's remarkable.
Well, we decided that it is something somewhat remarkable. We've didn't really set out to visit 1,000 gardens, but I like being outside and I like plants. And we started just keeping a list. My husband and I traveling together, kept a list of the places that we had been, and it got longer. And then a friend gave me a copy of the book, 1,001 Gardens to See Before You Die. And I thought, well, that's a nice number. And so we set out, and most travel guides will have some of the very famous gardens listed, but most of the time they send you to art museums and architectural sites and history and shopping and restaurants. And we weren't really focused on those. And so we started to look at the world through a garden.
That's remarkable. You know, I think that's going to change my perspective every day.
Well, it's really a beautiful way to look at the world. And one of the best advantages is that the gardens are located in remarkable places. Mm-hmm. And so the tourists may be on the shopping street, but I'm in Villa Mezzi on Lake Como, and we're basically the only people in the garden. And we still have the same beautiful views of the lake and the feeling of the Mediterranean. And it's just a really wonderful way to explore the world and look at it in a unique perspective. So,
gosh, I absolutely love that. I think that it's I've been in Lake Como and visited the touristy areas, and it kind of takes the joy out of the beauty. You know, it's such a serene, majestic place. So that's a great example. And how did you get your husband to join in on this passion with you? Was it just a natural progression?
Well, we went to a garden after we had been entertained by some distant relatives at the casino and the shopping mall, and there's just no place else I don't want to go. And so then we went to the Dallas Botanic Garden, and we went in the morning and we stayed all day. And when I came out, I was just so happy. And I'm a retired teacher, and I thought I should tell people about this. And so I said, and I carry a journal with me, and I wrote down a traveling gardener, wandering, wondering, noticing. And he looked at me and he said, well, what am I going to do? And I said, well, he had the camera in his hand. I said, you take the pictures. And so that's the way it started.
Oh, that's perfect. I love that. Geneva, does that encourage the garden club, the local garden club here in Laguna Woods Village, to start visiting other gardens in the area? Or is that something that you've already been doing?
I'm sure we have been doing that, but I think this will inspire people to do more.
That's my goal. And sometimes I think, well, I shouldn't tell people because then I can be there by myself. But no, it's just in a garden, it's generally built around a home. So then you have architecture and you have the social history of the time that the garden was built. And then who was the gardener? What's their story? Why did they choose to build the garden there? And you have the whole idea of what the local life was like at that time, that social history. There's just some of the stories that are so powerful when you discover that it's just, in Fredericksburg, Virginia, there are 2 catalpa trees that are there outside the mansion where the troops took shade, and those trees are still there. You have what they call witness trees that are there to this day that saw things, that stood in that place. And so you end up learning all different kinds of things by exploring the garden itself.
Absolutely. I'm loving this interview. There's one thing to love nature and love a garden, but to actually visualize it through your words. We don't even have any pictures here, and I can just, nature commands such a presence to it, doesn't it?
Well, and we need nature. Nature's going to get by most of the time without us, but we need it. And when one of the things I like, lots of people say, oh, I go hiking. Well, fine, but you're going to sit on a rock when you're hiking. I go to a garden, I can walk miles, and they have benches. and I can sit and I can look out on the scene, and I can enjoy the environment. I mean, I was on Beale Street in Memphis for the blues on Saturday night, but on Sunday morning, I was in the Botanic Garden with the magnolias and my coffee and experiencing what it's like to be in that climate and those plants and that environment. It really allows you to experience the place that you have gone to visit.
Absolutely. You can just, it creates more memories, it seems like, also. So Geneva, what is an inspirational insights is the local garden club taking from Linda's adventures?
Well, I'm sure we're going to have a lot of that. We are so rich in gardens in California that
Absolutely.
the possibilities are phenomenal.
Yeah, well, and a lot of people say, well, I've been to the garden. Well, you haven't been to the garden today. You don't know what's blooming. I did a presentation in Fort Worth, Texas, to their garden club, and they had a field trip scheduled to a garden in Weatherford, Texas, and they canceled it for lack of interest. Well, I happened to have driven in that way and stopped in Weatherford, and there was rivers of that beaded, the poppies, the ruffled poppies,
Yes.
just rivers of them, all in prime bloom.
Oh,
So
that
I showed
was
them
spectacular.
pictures. I showed them the pictures of what I had seen, not knowing that they had this trip planned. And people said afterwards that they were wishing that they had gone. I mean, there's a seasonal splendor that you may happen upon, but there's always going to be something to see whenever you can get there. And people forget to go back and look and see what it's like today, because the garden is always changing.
Always changing. So I'm going to put you on the spot here.
Yes. What's my favorite?
Between Europe and US, what are you loving? What are you favoring?
Oh, I think the gardener's world, this really is a claim, is New Zealand.
Oh, wow. Okay. I'm going there next month.
Oh, gosh. They have a Taranaki Garden Festival, and people compete to be a part of that. It's a 10-day festival. The garden has to be open. And it's so popular that people that don't get chosen, they created a fringe festival. And then there's another 40 some gardens participating in that.
Wow. Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, I'll have to be on the lookout for that, although I'm not sure where my journey's taking me, but very interesting to know that. So what's the number one destination that you would tell our viewers to take into consideration if they want to visit a garden in the US?
Well, no disrespect to the California gardens. Absolutely, they're fabulous. So many that are there. But Philadelphia is considered the garden. They consider themselves the garden capital of the states. And there are 30 gardens within 30 miles of Philadelphia. And they are wonderful. Little tiny roads, often all kinds of areas to find, but they really have a wonderful garden experience available to you.
Okay. Well, I can speak for myself. that's going on my bucket list. Absolutely. I'm going to visit Nantucket again in July, and they have absolutely spectacular. Every single house, I think, has the most outrageous floral window boxes you've ever seen.
Oh, that,
Absolutely gorgeous.
yes. Well, and just taking the time to um, notice it, and
Yes.
that's something that we think, well, we've got to hurry on to the next thing. But
Yes.
take the time to look closely.
Yes.
Find the extraordinary among the ordinary.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, you've been doing this for 16 years and you still find brand new things to see, observe, look at, engage with, and admire. And we
Absolutely.
really admire that in you.
Thank you.
That's great. All right, ladies. Well, I know that that went by really fast. I would love to have both of you back. And Geneva, I want you back in the studio next time we're together. You promise me?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. All right, from the Garden Club, Geneva and Linda, thank you so much for joining us today. I really enjoyed our interview, and I cannot wait to get out there and see all these beautiful gardens myself.
Well, you can follow me on my blog, and you can see
Yes.
all of the gardens that I have written about in the last several years. Travelinggardener.com.
.com. All right, ladies. Thank you for being here with us. We'll see you next time.
Okay, thank you.